Hey guys, it's been a while. Um, I I haven't been on here in about probably 2 or 3 months, roughly, give or take. And I a lot has been going on lately, and a lot of changes have been happening in my life and our life, Cassie and ours lives. Um, Nothing major yet, but I will get into it a little bit here, but just with so much going on in the world and just politicians and politics and social injustice and just all the above the coronavirus to name one of the big ones. But one's on the top of the list right now, and that has been my struggle with uh, potentially moving. Um, we've been in Arizona for 3 years now. It's been good. It's been great, but you know, Cassie's been living here obviously with me. Uh, you know, for she's been dealing with the heat and the pollution for 3 years now, and um, she told me, probably about a year ago that there's a possibility that we may have to move because the air quality is hard for me to breathe. The um, the heat makes it tough to be outside in the summers. Um, I just can't breathe outside, and when it's hot, it makes it even harder to breathe because the ozone level or the smog increases um, in the summers. So, and for me, internally, and sometimes it came out, and maybe in a frustrating way for me, but internally I've been struggling with it, had been struggling with it at the time, about moving away from where I grew up, and where really the only state that I've really known outside of Minnesota. Now, I point out that I spent 25 years in Minnesota, and it was a nice state, but it was never my home. I never felt home there. I lived here in Arizona for 10 years. And, from I was born and raised here. So some people would say, well, you were only here for 10 years and Minnesota is your real home because you spent more time there. But I don't look at it that way. This is where I was molded into the person I am today, and at least my childhood, all those memories and those friends that you made, um, and things like that. Now, I learned a lot from Minnesota. I learned what it meant to be a person and a man, be responsible, all those things as well. But my heart was always in Arizona, and so we were able to move down here, 3 years ago, come back home for me. Um, and again, we've been here for 3 years now, and Cassie's still having a hard time with the heat, having a hard time with the pollution, and it got to the point where I had to stand up and be a man about it and think about my wife as well. What's we need to do, I need to do what's best for both of us. And what's best for both of us right now is that we need to move somewhere where she'll be happy too, but not only her, but me as well. And we have to compromise, and I have to not think of myself, not just think about myself, but think of her as well. And so I struggled with that for a long time because my whole life has always been, I've wanted to live here. I've wanted to, I guess my dream was once upon a time to, have a family, and or whatever the case may be. I always kind of pictured myself living here for a long time. Maybe not forever, but for a long time. So we've been talking over this last. We've been actually looking at different places around the country on where we could find that happy medium. We've looked into Colorado. We've been looking at Seattle, Washington. We've been looking at Oregon, a lot of the western states, and so Seattle was a little too expensive for us. Colorado would have those harsh winters, so we would actually go back to Minnesota weather. I'd still be open to living there. I know that's still a harsh winter, but I think that we'd be going back there, but I'm still open to Colorado just because I know that it's a place that Cassie would like. And I would like as well, but I think especially for her, the type of environment she wants to be in, she also wants her 4 seasons back, and I can understand that. We don't have 4 seasons here per se. We have different climates in different areas of Arizona, so you have to kind of go to the climate opposed to being stuck in one climate. And Phoenix, unfortunately, is just too darn hot, especially in the summers. It's perfect in the fall, winter, and spring, but the summers are getting longer now, and they're getting even worse from year to year. So she's looking for 4 seasons. She's looking for obviously a healthier environment to live in, preferably somewhere that's not polluted, not very hot during the summers, or as hot, and So again, we looked at those 4 places on the west side of the country. Then we started kind of looking at different places on the east side. Virginia, we were looking at, where else were we looking? We were looking like at those northern states like Rhode Island, and we didn't do too much research on Rhode Island, but those are like ideas. So we started moving south more, and we looked at Tennessee, again Virginia. Then we went down a little further, and we were looking at North and South Carolina. Now, North and South Carolina, we had been looking at North and South Carolina for a while. Understanding what the climate is like, understanding that they are a state on the coastline where you can get hurricanes, and the summers would be humid, very hot and humid, not over like 80 or 90, but you would have really humid summers. But you get your 4 seasons, fall, winter, and spring, with winters of, depending on where you live, you can get up to a foot of snow in the mountains. You can get 5 to 7 inches of snow in like the Charlotte area or any other like surrounding cities, like Raleigh. And again, it'd probably be a little less the further more you go to the coast. So Raleigh would have a little less. Winston-Salem, all those areas may have a little less, but Charlotte's average was 5 to 7 inches from what I had researched. So we kept doing research and things like that, and we met some friends that actually lived in North Carolina and are from North Carolina, and so we started asking them about places to see, places to go, um, places they recommended, and they had recommended some of these places that we had looked up, like Asheville, like Winston-Salem, and a lot of these other places we had researched, Raleigh, um, Durham, and so over this last month now, we've really been digging in hard because we do believe that probably by next summer we will have to move because Cassie, with her missing so much work because of her headaches, and this is one of the big things that I didn't mention, the heat and smog are a major factor with her headaches. And maybe I did mention that, but that's affecting that, but it's not only affecting that, it's affecting her job because when she gets these migraines, she misses work. And her FMLA, she only gets so much FMLA a year, and it doesn't roll over. Or it doesn't reset. You use those FMLA periods, and then you have to wait for them to fall off from the time that you had started using them. So we have to get into a better environment, and for her health, for her job, it it's really a must. So we're really digging our heels in right now, and just really researching, getting as much advice as we can, about North Carolina, and seeing what's out there. I also have a old friend I went to elementary school with. I was friends with him on Facebook, and he told me he lived in Durham, North Carolina, which at the time, I said, it's funny that you mentioned North Carolina because we're potentially thinking about moving out there. And so I asked him what it was like. He had nothing but positive things to say, good hospitals, good schools. So just kind of some of the things he was, mentioning. Then we found out, or we remembered that a married couple we used to go to church with here in Phoenix, they actually moved out to North Carolina a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now, and they live in Greensboro, North Carolina, and also the Winston-Salem area. And so we reached out to them, and my wife mainly did the reaching out on that, on them, but they gave us, ideas and things to look into, and so we contacted them, and we have a lot more contacts than we thought. Then Cassie's best friend's uncle lives in Charlotte, or I believe in Charlotte, and so we're able to talk to him as well. Really, really do a lot of research. Now, some of the positives about living and negatives about living in North Carolina. Positive, you can go to the beach, you can go into the mountains, lots of things to do there. It's not your big city. There's kind of just a bunch of really good medium-sized towns, some large towns, or cities, but it's kind of a happy medium. It's not like LA or Phoenix in that regard, but there's a lot to do. There's a lot of things to do. Something's there for everyone. Um, a negative, I mentioned hurricanes. Now, I told Cassie, there's no way I want to live on the coastline where I can get hit by a hurricane. No way. I want to live inland as much as I can without feeling boxed in. And so, hurricanes is a negative. Obviously, those hurricanes can reach other cities, at least the rain, not so much like the big torrential downpour rain, but you can get severe thunderstorms and things like that. Sometimes tornadoes, depending on where you're at. If you live in Asheville, you're in the mountains, so you don't get too many tornadoes there. But everywhere in North Carolina, there's a chance that you could get a tornado. Depending on where you live, it's all relative, really. You get less tornadoes in North and South Carolina than you would in the Midwest, but it's still you get some. So I so that was kind of my cause for pause, or my yeah, is that right? Cause for pause, yeah. Anyway, so that was one of the things I was thinking about. Um, um, Again, another positive I mentioned. Cassie was able to get her 4 seasons. Within that too, the city is there for me. Um, uh, Depending again where you live, we're looking at Charlotte, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, those kind of that area, kind of like mid North Carolina and west. Um, I can see my sports teams. Now, while my sports team is not there, like the Suns aren't there, obviously, and the Bucks for football aren't there, but they do play Carolina, and the Suns would play Charlotte. So I'd be able to see them at least once a year. The negative, if you're living in Asheville, particularly, they could see a foot of snow on average per year. That's not terrible considering I used to live in a climate in Minnesota that can sometimes average 3 or 4 feet of snow. It seems like it's gotten worse over the years. So that's really mild, but so it's kind of a not negative / positive, I guess. Another positive, I would say there's so many positives and negatives, but it comes down to which ones outweigh the other. Um, while I'm thinking about this now, we want to make sure that we're doing as much research and we're not just doing this on a whim. We're doing this responsibly, and we're taking advice across the board. And I have to keep reminding myself that I have to do what's best for both of us. And what's best for both of us is, unfortunately, that Phoenix, Arizona, and Arizona in general is not necessarily the right place for us. And I have to realize that. Before anyway, so there's a lot of positives and negatives. Lots of things to do, things of all sorts. So at this point, we're still getting advice. We're still figuring things out. We do fly to North Carolina to visit, to get the lay of the land, look at these different places, see what we think about it. We would like, again, we preferably would have liked to go in July when it's the worst humidity levels, see if You know, it's something we could handle, but at this point, we know what humidity is like. Humidity levels get um, close to what they do in Minnesota in the summer, so we kind of understand what humidity is, but we preferably would have loved to do it in July, but with Cassie's job and her headaches and the pollution and the heat, we just can't make it through another summer at this point. I mean, it'd be one thing if it was just me, but it's not. So, so we're just doing our due diligence and doing everything we can to be responsible and be prepared as possible. It's not going to be perfect, and you know, again, it isn't like we have just been here for a year. We've been here for it will be 4 years next year. We have lived here. Next year would be the year we would move, but 4 years is a long time to really see if Cassie likes it and why she loves Arizona and the fact that there's it's a beautiful state. It's just the heat in Phoenix and the smog and the pollution. We had talked about maybe moving to northern Arizona somewhere, but it's just too small of towns, not a whole lot to do. You kind of boxed in. So, um, yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. We're still doing research, looking at all the positive and negatives, every little aspect of North and South, North Carolina, really. Um, Charlotte does border North and South Carolina. Charlotte's in North Carolina, but it borders South Carolina. So we were looking just over the border in South Carolina. That's why I mentioned South Carolina. So there's a chance maybe we sit on the other side of North Carolina there, just on the border. But we don't know. We're still doing research, and I'm still picking the brain of my friends and getting their advice, and seeing what we should really see when we're there to see where we want to live. So we'll see what happens, and we'll go from there. I've kind of come to I'm almost there, but I'm kind of at peace with the fact that I know that we have to leave. I don't want to, in the sense that I'm going to be sad, but I know it's the right thing to do, and I know I have to do what's best for my family. So, anyways, that's just my long rant. I haven't been on here for a while, like I said. I just thought I'd come on here and chat. This is kind of what I've been thinking in my head, and I'm just doing my best to really be sensible and be understanding and and do the right thing. Anyways, I'm sure I'll update you guys again soon about this whole situation. But you know, for whoever's watching or listening, thanks again. If you're new to this channel and you see this, I don't do this for people to watch. I do this for me. It's kind of one of those things for me to look at, looking back, memories and things I was thinking at the time, and just kind of a time capsule, a vlog, so I can look 30, 40 years down the road and see how far I've come as a person. And I've been here on YouTube since 2008. More in the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years, I've been kind of sporadic in my videos, but I have something to look back at. So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and thanks for listening as always. Peace.